I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and part 2 of the Motorola DROID RAZR HD full review starts in just a second, but first, some love to Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like this for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game, which we turn around and give to you at instantwin.phonedog.com. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile to get this device, or any device for that matter, you'll deal with unbiased representatives. Whether it's Verizon, AT&T, or Sprint, they'll help you choose the right phone and the right plan, so you're walking out getting exactly what you need, and not what the carrier's representative needs to make a commission. At Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out unbiased. Take a look at this, the DROID RAZR HD. Is this a device for you, or should you go with something else? There's a ton of devices coming out this season. The iPhone 5, the Galaxy S3, the Note 2, this, the Xperia TL. There's so many that I'm using all these crazy hand gestures, but is this the ultimate one? With a decent sized battery and an HD display and a pretty stock build of Android? We'll find out in the full review, which starts right now. If you like the original DROID RAZR and DROID RAZR Max, you're gonna like, or most likely I should say, I don't want to presume to know exactly what you like and you don't like, but I think you'll like the DROID RAZR HD. This is the newest version. It's available at Verizon for $199.99, and never fret because they released a DROID RAZR Max HD as well. So if you like that bigger battery, you still want the HD display. There are two new Motorola devices from Verizon. One is $199, one is $299, and they packed those HD displays, which is really nice. So again, give you a quick recap of the specs here. 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 CPU, a 4.7-inch HD display with Pentile technology, an 8-megapixel camera on the back with 1080p HD video recording, and you even get some nifty drift thanks to my my camera here. Sorry about that. And Android 4.0 with Motorola's user interface. Now the battery on the original here is a little bit different than it is on the Max this time around. So you've got a 2,530 milliamp hour battery over here, where on the Max you still have the same 3,300 milliamp hour battery on that side. So the gap between the batteries is a little bit less this time around. The price point is still kind of the same. It's $200 for the base model, $300 for the upgraded model with the additional storage. Jumps from 16 to 32, and then battery from 2,530 to 3,300. So it's up to you as to whether you want to spend that extra $100. Honestly, I can tell you after working with this device for a couple of days, I've been so impressed with the 2,530 milliamp hour battery. I'm not so sure that I would spring unless you needed the extra storage space on the DROID RAZR Max HD. Design-wise, just to give you another quick recap, very industrial here. Looks different than the original, a little bit different, but you can still see those industrial hues that Motorola is known for. Kevlar on the back, got kind of that coating on the back, it's got that pattern on the back, and then you can see metal around the sides. Really makes this device look good, but it's definitely a boxy device. So if you're the type of person that likes that industrial look and feel, you're a fan of the iPhone 4 and the 4S, or this device, you're not a huge fan of the Samsung devices, the Galaxy S3, because they use too much plastic, or perhaps some of the older HTC devices on Verizon, the DROID Incredible 4G LTE, which hasn't really been out that long. Stick with this device because the overall look and feel is something I think you'll like quite a bit. But let's jump right into Quadrant Standard on this device and take a look at the overall speed tests and see what we can come out with. Now, Motorola does a killer job in the wireless radio department, and that's no exception with the DROID RAZR HD. Absolutely impressive wireless radio all around. Call quality is fantastic. The earpiece is nice and loud. No issues whatsoever with that. Speakerphone's nice and loud, and I'll tell you that I've taken it to several places. Northeast Charlotte, known Verizon dead spot near the university. Really impressed all around. Very little to no chop across the board, and I've been relatively impressed there. Battery life, like I said, 2,530 milliamp hours here, and honestly, it's pretty decent. It's not going to get you through 24 hours by any means, but I was able to make it about 13 hours with moderate to what I would consider moderate to heavy use before the device powered down. So definitely a good device all around. If you're somebody that uses a battery quite a bit, given the fact that the battery is non-removable as well, it's something to keep in mind, because if you're a road warrior, those types of battery numbers are always good, and you may not even need the RAZR Max. If you're somebody that travels all the time, you're far away from a charger on a regular basis, you're on a plane all the time like I am, the RAZR Max may be a good device for you. The RAZR Max HD, which was released alongside the RAZR HD. So quadrant standard wise, 4,967. So expect a relatively fast speed here. That said, take it with a grain of salt. It's not indicative of day-to-day performance, but still, little to no lag here whatsoever. I see a stutter from time to time, but beyond that, nothing too crazy here. And I think that has to do with Motorola's user interface, because I'm finding that, you know, pull another device over, for example, the Galaxy S3, or maybe, let me think of some other devices. I don't have any on my desk at the moment, but even the DROID Incredible 4G LTE, some of these devices which are running very similar CPUs, or even in the case of the DROID Incredible, a slightly slower CPU, still pretty impressive all around. Those have no lag whatsoever, so it may be something on the software side with Motorola's devices. I see it kind of on the RAZR M as well, and I've seen it on past devices, the Atrix HD and more. So minor lag, nothing to be too crazy about or nothing to be too worried about, but something that if you're a stickler for lag, you may find it slightly annoying. Bill Stevenson here, phone number, you got your phone call and your text message, kind of a stock Android look and feel in the contacts, and you'll see when I go to edit, it's very similar to stock as well. You got this blue colors, there's white hues and blue hues behind the back, or in front of the black rather, and then Bill Stevenson and the phone number as well. I can add another field, and like I said in part 1, the buttons are on screen, so that's something to keep in mind. You don't have to worry about capacitive buttons on this device. Let's take a look also at speed tests, and then I'm going to show you smart actions, because I know I covered this in quite a few of the Motorola videos, but this is really what's going to help you and going to contribute to longer battery life on this device if that's something that really interests you. So we're going to switch this over to megabits per second this time. And like I said in part 1, Verizon quotes a download speed of 5 to 12 megabits per second and an upload speed between 2 and 5 megabits per second. So keep those in mind. That said, most of the LTE markets I've gone to, you're kind of seeing what you see here, where it's 22, 15, 18, definitely much faster, but they quote to be conservative, that 5 to 12 megabits per second number. So download 22 megabits per second here, 13 megabits per second on the upload. Nice and fast all around here. Pretty impressed with the speed tests on Verizon's 4G LTE. So smart actions, we'll load this up right now, and you can see the video here. We're going to skip this when we can. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get started, blah, blah. And we'll go in here and take a look. So you can see you can make your own smart actions. So really it's just a series of rules, kind of ways you can configure the device to work around you. So for example, some of my favorites, meeting rule, I like this one a lot because it silences your phone when you're in a meeting so you can stay focused. So you can come in here, for example, you can turn on location and it will automatically know when you walk into your office, throw that phone on silent because you're there to work. Same thing with calendar event. If you have a calendar event like a meeting from 4 to 5, for example, when 4 o'clock rings around, it'll automatically silence the phone. So you can kind of configure the triggers, configure what it does, so you can say, okay, set it to silent, auto reply, I'm in a meeting, call you back later. And of course, VIP caller mode you can turn on, where it's like, okay, I want it to be silent, but if my girlfriend calls me, my boyfriend calls me, my fiance calls me, my mom or dad calls me, I want it to ring through. So you got that feature as well, which is really nice. So just a series of rules designed to make your life easier. That one's one of my favorites. Drive Smart is one of my absolute favorites, where when you're driving, you can turn it on. And it'll tell people, hey, you know what, call me back later. It'll send them on auto text. Same thing with workout. Plays your favorite playlist when you use headphones. So when I go to run, I can plug it in and my running playlist will automatically pop up. Same thing here with battery saver. That's a good one. And of course, home rules. So you got a bunch of different options here. They've really enhanced this and kind of changed it and made it better all around since the original device came out. And this is something that I recommend to everybody now that has a Motorola device. Take a look at these because you can really customize the device and make it your own. You know, we're buying software in today's world. When you look at TouchWiz versus Sense, it's really less of we're buying Android and iOS anymore. It's more of like we're buying Sense and we're buying TouchWiz and we're buying Motorola's UI and we're buying LG's UI. And this is Motorola's effort towards customization, along with some more of a stock look and feel when it comes to widgets and things like that. So take advantage of that if that's something that interests you, and take advantage of the widgets as well. You've got 7 home screens here, so bookmarks, calendar. Most of these are stock widgets. You'll see some Motorola ones, for example, email, and then there's a calendar one I want to show you as well. So I can just drag it to an empty home screen here, and then I can press and hold and resize this kind of how I see fit. So if I want it to take up the full screen, I can have it take up the full screen. Now, one pet peeve I will say about this device, and this is something acceptable a year and a half ago, not acceptable now given how many people are doing it. Take a look at Samsung devices and take a look at LG devices. Both of those offer an ability to have a custom battery percentage indicator. So much like the iPhone and iOS, I'd love to be able to see, hey, what is my battery exactly at right now? I see it's dropped a little bit. Is it 91%? Is it 89%? Is it 86%? That's great for me because when I travel, I need to know these things instead of looking at an arbitrary battery meter. And unfortunately, Motorola does not allow that just yet in their user interface. That's a little pet peeve, and that's why I have to install something like this where I can come over here and say, okay, I'm at 93%. And you'll also notice that it no longer goes down in increments of 10% on the standard battery indicator readings like they did on Motorola devices of the past. So if you followed my videos, you've noticed it's gone down every 10% increment, or you've downloaded my favorite battery widget, which is Battery Life by Curvefish. You've noticed that. It's nice to see those little changes like that. So these devices are definitely for the better. They've taken a great device. Help if I could speak. It's taken a great device. They've made it even better. They've added an HD display, and yes, it has pen tile, but it's a beautiful 4.7-inch display. It's bigger all around. It's still relatively pocketable and easy to hold in the hand, comparatively speaking to devices like the Note 2 unlike HTC's upcoming device, the J Butterfly in Japan, or in Taiwan. I can't remember exactly where it's being announced. I think it was Japan. But very decent sized display here. Pen tile, you either love it or you hate it, or maybe you don't even care. Some people don't even know what pen tile is. That said, it doesn't look terrible when it's on the brightness level or the most bright level on the device. When I take it to like a mid brightness level, I do notice the pen tile technology here. It's not as noticeable as other devices of the past, but still, if you're somebody like me, or you're somebody that's a cell phone nerd, you work with devices on a daily basis, you're going to notice these things. Much like if you work in cars for a living, you're going to notice things I'm not going to notice, because honestly, I drive a car from point A to point B, and beyond that, I could care less. So, very similar with cell phones. Some people may not notice this, but if you're a diehard cell phone enthusiast, take a look at the display in store before you purchase. The HD is beautiful. It's a nice display. It's a great improvement, but the pen tile may still set you off in comparison to some other devices on the market. Great device all around though. Love seeing this at the $199 price point. They've improved the battery. It's much better. And they've really just taken a great device and made it even better. It's still got a thin and light form factor. It looks beautiful. Love the industrial design. It's going to be a great contender this holiday season. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com for continuing coverage of the Motorola DROID RAZR HD. Stay tuned for some dogfights as we put this head-to-head against other devices that are hot this year, the Optimus G, the Galaxy S3, and more. Be sure to like us on Facebook as well, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Hit us up and check out the greatest tech giveaway ever, too. It's an awesome contest, and we're giving away some awesome smartphones as prizes. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter, PhoneDog_Aaron, and on Facebook at Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Stay tuned for more coverage on Motorola's newest device, newest flagship device at that, on Verizon, the DROID RAZR HD. We'll see you next time.